Islam to all of the Moors. I'm Dr. Yusafa from Zion Law School. It's a pleasure to be here again with everybody today. So let us begin, okay? So we're in a new textbook, if you all remember. So we're back in the, I see the lighting is not good. Give me 1 second. Okay, let me see, hold on. Give me 1 minute. 1 second. 1 second, y'all. Maybe this is better. All right, so let's see. Maybe this is better. Hold on. So this is going to be a short video but I'm going to come back after this video. I want to do Robert Taylor's, the author's biography, okay? So give me 1 second, let me get this, let me hook this up. Let me get this together, y'all. We're gonna do the author's biography, all right? Very important that we do his biography. So why do we need to go through his biography? We need to go through his biography because it has to do with his credibility, okay? His credibility, not just with whether or not he's being honest, but also so we can see if the man actually knows what he claims that he knows, okay? So let's get into it. Let's make it do what it do. Like I said, this is going to be a short video, all right? 1 minute here. Very short video. Okay. So I traveled yesterday, so I traveled by bus. If y'all ever travel by bus, that is no fun. I only travel by bus when I have to. Okay, but in Vietnam, they have these little buses, they call them sleeping buses. So, but the problem is, if you're not small, like Asian size, it's too small for you. So it's more comfortable than if you were sitting in a chair, but because you're laying down, you know, you're all squished up, okay? So sketch of the life of the Reverend Robert Taylor. This is his autobiography, or his biography rather. Okay, this is his biography. So we're gonna read it. It's just a couple pages, okay? So keep in mind as we go through this, look for information that gives evidence that he knows what he's talking about or that he doesn't know what he's talking about, okay? And if he knows what he's talking about, look for evidence or clues that he is honorable or deceitful, okay? Y'all make that decision on your own, okay? So let's go through it. And of course, you'd have to ask yourself questions. Why did he do this? Why did he do that? What was his motive? Why did he continue? Why did he stop? Why did he start? Okay. How does he know the information? Was he an insider? Was it through hearsay? Okay, somebody told him. Okay, so let's get into it. The sketch of the life of the Reverend Robert Taylor. This gentleman was born August 18th, 1784, at Edmonton, near London, Okay, so he was born in Albion. Okay, born in London, born in Britain today, near London, and educated as a surgeon under Sir Astley Cooper. All right, so he was in medicine. Okay, so he was educated as a surgeon. So he appears to be a well-educated man, right? But as he exhibited a strong religious feeling and great powers of oratory, he was persuaded by his friend, the Reverend Thomas Cotterell, to take to take holy orders in the established Church of England. Okay, y'all? All right, so he was a physician, he was a surgeon, he had really, really good public speaking skills, and then his friend Thomas Cotterell recommended him to become a preacher. Okay? All right, and in which church? The Church of England. Not the Catholic Church, the Church of England. Okay? Which he did by matriculating in St. John's College, Cambridge, and became a zealous evangelical preacher, at first in London and afterwards in Surrey. Okay, so he studied, it appears he studied theology at St. John's College in Cambridge. Okay, so it appears that this is probably where he got his education, okay, in terms of etymology and philology. Okay, now let's continue. Mr. Taylor was religious but candid. In other words, he believed in doctrines. Okay, he was a scientist who also believed in religious doctrines. Okay? Now, isn't it interesting? Okay, born in 1784. So what was happening in 1784? The Albions, the hybrids, were on the come up. They were working in partnership, I guess, if you will, or friendly relations with Moors over in Europe. And they were coming or traveling to the Americas, either as slaves of the Moors or relatives. And they were conquering together, okay? Y'all remember that the hybrid initially was created to be a super soldier, right? Remember? They were created to do farming, but have enough intelligence where a Moor could talk. And then the hybrid would be able to communicate and understand and go work in the field, go row the boats, and then also fight, right? Fight in battles. That was the original intent, as I understand it, from the Yaqub story, okay, or Yaqub experiments, okay, that ultimately ended up with the hybrid troglodyte nigger, the Paleolithic caveman, etc. Okay. All right. Okay. So that's what was happening then, and they were using religion. They were using religion to get people to give up their birthright. Okay, either willingly or through intimidation. Right. Y'all remember that many of our ancestors, if not most, didn't take to Christianity as a choice. It was forced on them through terrorism. Okay, so this is what's happening at that time. There were land thefts, right? And mainly it was done through people, through the legal system and through religion. Okay, it's cheating. Clear? All right. So Mr. Taylor was religious but candid, okay? And Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so I just got my food. So y'all bear with me. I'm in between classes right now. Okay, so I'm gonna eat while I can. I do these videos on my breaks. Okay. So Mr. Taylor was religious but candid and a free inquirer. That means he asked questions. Okay? A big part of learning is asking questions. Well, you must be curious. But you can teach yourself to be curious. Most people have been punished for asking questions and now they won't answer questions. Well, the result of that is that you stunt your learning, which is probably why they punish you. Keep you stupid, okay? Not just to make you afraid to ask questions. Okay, he was a tradesman in Midhurst. By the loan of books and conversation, first awakened his skepticism. Okay, so he was reading books. Clear. Well, we have an idea what kind of books he must have been reading, right? He must have been reading books on linguistics, mythology, right? Art and architecture, iconoclasm, linguistics, etymology and grammar rules, okay? And he was talking to people. So one of the really wonderful things about being in a university environment or in a city or metropolis, as the author refers to it, when you're in a city that has a lot of universities, especially prestigious universities, you get to meet people and talk. You get to have these philosophical conversations, unscientific conversations. And that's a really wonderful thing. That's why I really, really love being in communities where there are universities. So this is what Robert Taylor was doing. He was reading books. I'm sure they had libraries there, right? I mean, it's Cambridge. And he was talking to people, learning, okay? Okay, now let's continue. Okay? And as a result of his learning and talking to people, he began to ask questions. And the answers to those questions were not supporting the religious point of view, the religious doctrine. Okay? So he became skeptical. All right? Now let's continue. Okay? And he was too honest to conceal the truth. So he knew that what they had written on the pages, especially of the New Testament, he knew that it was lies. And he knew that what they were teaching the people in terms of doctrine, it was lies. In fact, now I'm going to tell y'all something. He knew that in order for you to understand, for example, the book of Hebrews, it's said to be a letter to the Hebrews, right? It's said to be a letter to the Hebrews, and you're taught that the Hebrews is a nation. The Hebrews is the nation of Israel. That's what y'all been taught, right? That's the doctrine. But that's not the case. Because Hebrews, that's a whole bunch of different peoples, not just one nation. But the letter is to the Hebrews. But see, you've been taught that it's to the house of Yasharallah, and you accepted it. But you also know in your mind that Hebrews is many people. Many nations came out of Eber. Y'all see the point? So you were tricked. In fact, it is not a letter to the Hebrews at all. In other words, it's not a letter to a specific nation. Okay? But you need to be in the secret society, you need to be a Freemason to understand who that letter or epistle is to. Okay, so if you're outside of the house, you read it and you get doctrine. You think it says something. But if you're on the inside of the house, if you're a Freemason, you get to know the mysteries of the kingdom of God. You get to know what those verses actually mean. Y'all got it? You also get to know that the book of Hebrews was not written by the Apostle Paul, but you've been taught that. Okay? But by using this, not just accepting the doctrine, you would actually know that. Okay, so this is what is being spoken of here. Okay, so what do we call this? The meanings are loaded. Okay, it's loaded. It's duplistic, intentionally deceitful. This is Christianity. Okay, so they put you under the spell. But those who are in the inner house, they actually know that it doesn't mean what you think it means, which is dogma. Dogma. All right? But they have the truth. Y'all hear that? How about that? They have the truth. And the truth is only available to those who are on the inside of the house. Because JC said it himself. He said that those who are on the outside of the house, I'm paraphrasing, don't get to know the meaning of the parables. Because if they ever got to know, y'all should be able to finish it. They would be able to repent. And if they repent, they have a chance to be saved. Okay? Y'all got that? But every slave who escapes, or every fish that gets away, is one less fish each month for you to reach down and take a coin out of its mouth. Okay? Every person who escapes religion is one less person who you can get that tithe from. Okay? So they got to keep you in bondage. Anyway, let's continue. Let's continue. Okay, so Robert Taylor was too honest to hide the truth. He drew the attention of the Bishop of Chichester, who not only remonstrated with Mr. Taylor, but persecuted him by depriving him of his support and recommending retirement. Y'all hear that? So when Robert Taylor started telling people the truth about what he had learned, the religious community, the Bishop of Chichester, oppressed him, persecuted him for telling the truth. Y'all got that? He was not persecuted because he was a good Christian. Make the distinction. Let me say it again. Robert Taylor, the author of The Devil's Pulpit, was not persecuted because he was a good Christian, as y'all are taught, right? They persecute the Christians, okay? No, the church persecuted him because he began telling their secrets. In other words, he began educating the people. Repeat it. He began to educate the people. And then the religious community came after him. They persecuted him. And y'all going to see what else they did to him. Okay? I mean, they just ruined this guy. Let's continue. They stopped giving him his salary. Can y'all imagine that? Can you imagine that? Not only did they persecute him, but they deprived him of his support. That's financial support. And recommended retirement. So you're going to retire with nothing now. Y'all see it? Okay? For telling the truth. Not for fornication. Not for adultery. But for telling the truth. So y'all ought to think about that. Some of y'all are in these very strict religions. Okay? And then they ostracize someone. And they tell a story. That this guy's evil. He did this, he did that. Well, if you dig deeper, maybe they are ostracizing him, lying on him or her, because they're telling the truth. Or they know something, and they're, the religious organization wants to oppress them or stop them from talking, or stop you from learning what it is they know. Okay, y'all? But let's continue. Mr. Taylor made several efforts to be reconciled with the church. Okay, so he tried to straighten things out. Stephen Estrada writes, keep slaying wizards, brother. Thank you so much, Islam and Shalawama. Much appreciated. I'm doing my best. Okay, y'all? So he tried to work it out with the church, but was treated with great severity. Y'all see that? In other words, from their point of view, wait a minute, you told some secrets, there is no forgiveness. But the church, the Christians are supposed to forgive. But they themselves don't forgive. Why? Because when you start talking about the truth, about religion, not only do you threaten their money, but you threaten their power. Okay? Not only do you threaten the money and power of the church and the religious leaders, from the highest to the lowest, but you threaten the power of the nation state. For example, the U.S. corporation. Y'all realize that religion is largely or contributes heavily to their power. For example, without the religion, the people would not be passive. Without the religion, the people would not wait or be forgiving. Okay, they would get up, stand up for themselves and take it. Okay, they would implement and execute natural law on those who betray them, like their political leaders, like their religious leaders. So this is what he's doing, has very serious implications, not just for the church, but politically, socially. Okay, y'all? See, what do you need a government for if you don't have any problems? You don't need them, right? So they want to make sure you're always facing obstacles and challenges, hardship, because that justifies their existence. Okay? But let's continue. Till at length, resisting the opposition, Robert Taylor joined some gentlemen in forming a society of universal benevolence. So a society that would do good to everybody. That's what that means. Of which he became the lecturer in a small theater in Dublin, from which he was driven by Protestant zeal. Okay, so he was a Protestant, obviously, Church of England. Okay, so his way of fighting back against the church's oppression was to form the Society of Universal Benevolence or benefits, right? You do good to all people. So what's the good that he's going to do, or that he was doing? He was a lecturer. He was telling the truth. Okay, he was the face of the organization. He was the one out there publicly preaching, telling people the truth. So what is the truth? The truth is the literal meaning of the text without religious doctrine. This is the same thing I do. It's the same thing that I do. Okay? That's what he was doing. Showing people what the text means, using linguistics, etymology, and grammar rules, using history, art, architecture, astrology, astronomy, right? And any other applicable science. Put it all together, that's called philology. And people hated him, just like they hate me. But I give him the finger. I don't give a damn. Well, let's continue. In 1824, Robert Taylor arrived in London. 1824. 1824. He was born in 1784. So add 16 years to 84, that gives you 1800, right? 1784 to 1800. That's 16 years, right, y'all? 84 plus 16 is 100. So in the year 1800, he was 16. And then in 1824, so 24 plus 16, he's roughly 40. Middle-aged man. Okay, so in 1824, or when he was 40 years old, he arrived in London. He lectured and debated in various places and established the Christian evidence. Not doctrine, evidence, y'all. The Christian Evidence Society. In other words, you're making these, you got all of these doctrines, right? You got these doctrines. Now prove it. Prove that your doctrines are true. Show me the evidence. Prove it. Prove it. Okay, so this is what he's calling the Christian Evidence Society. Some of these discourses were printed in The Lion, published by Carlyle. Others formed the volume known as the Devil's Pulpit. Y'all got that? That's our textbook. Okay? That's our textbook. So this textbook is actually lectures that Robert Taylor gave. Also information from debates. Okay? Proving, using linguistic evidence, using philology, proving that the Catholic doctrine, all Christian doctrines, is all BS. It's astrology. That was the major message. It's astrology and Freemasonry. Okay? New Testament is Freemasonry. Period. But y'all gonna see it as we go through here, okay? Y'all have been taught, y'all been taught something that's completely, I don't want to say wrong because wrong is, well, of course it's wrong, right? But y'all are in the land of Oz, okay? You're in the land of Oz, as in the Wizard of Oz, okay? It's Freemasonry and astrotheology, okay? So let's continue. But we'll let the author prove these points. Okay? You can decide whether or not he shows enough or sufficient evidence to prove his point or not. You decide for yourself. I'll give you the information. I'll explain it and everything else, and then you use your intelligent mind. Okay? Oh, they got the air conditioning blowing right on my food. You would think that they have enough sense. You would think they have enough sense not to do that, right? Put the air conditioner right over a table. But anyway, y'all. Hey, oh, sir. What? Never mind. It's okay. Let's continue. Okay. Okay. So some of these discourses, those lectures, were printed in a publication called The Lion. Man, they just messed my whole food up. Let me move my food. Dang it. What are these people thinking about? I mean, isn't that common sense, right? Y'all don't put an air conditioning unit right over a table in a restaurant. You know, people don't want to eat hot food. I mean, cold food. My fries are ice cold. I shouldn't eat them anyway. Okay, let's get into it. So some of these discourses were printed in a publication called The Lion, published by Carlyle. Others form the volume known as The Devil's Pulpit. Notice the name, The Devil's Pulpit. A name given from the circumstance of the author having been dubbed or having been branded, dubbed the devil's chaplain, the devil's preacher. Y'all see that? So this man, Robert Taylor, he's going out telling the truth. And what does the Catholic Church do? What does the religious community do? They go out and accuse him of the dirty, rotten stuff that they are doing. What he's telling the people frees them. They are, in fact, the devil's chaplain or the devil's preacher. Can y'all see that? But they would never tell the people that. See, a devil is an opposer. So they oppose the people. But in your concept, in your mind, you've been taught that the devil is the enemy of God and he's wicked and he's going to take you and burn you in hell. All right, so they're using psychological warfare or what? Psych attack or psychic attacks. Okay? Psychops, psychic attacks, whatever you want to call it. So that when you hear Robert Taylor, or even if you see him, you'll become afraid. You associate him with the devil, being wicked and an opposer of God. Y'all see that? You see the way they use language to create an image to make you afraid and then control your behavior through fear. Y'all got it? See it? All right? So they called him the devil's chaplain or the devil's preacher. Who did it? Somebody named H. Hunt. Somebody named H. Hunt started that. In 1827, the mayor of London, so now we're getting the politicians involved, presumed to be instigated by others. Okay, so y'all know that's the religious community instigating. In other words, talking S-H-I-T, right? Trying to provoke people, incite people to hate him, do something bad to him. Had Mr. Taylor arrested for blasphemy. Had him arrested for blasphemy. Why? Because he's telling the truth. Y'all got it? Why blasphemy? Because blasphemy is an unforgivable sin. Now everybody gonna be scared of you if they think you blaspheme God. Why? Because they don't want to associate with you, and then they carry the sin of blasphemy with you because they were associating with you. Y'all see how this mind game works? How they use these mind games to ostracize people, to isolate them, and then ostracize them, take their money, destroy them financially. And of course, they threw him in jail. Y'all already know that. And they're hoping he would get killed, or hoping you would get killed, right? They are ruthless, cold-hearted to the core. Even today. Okay, let's continue. Now, these are the religious people who are doing this, y'all. These ain't street people. These are your good pastors and preachers and reverends. They arrested Robert Taylor, for blasphemy, selecting the matter from the devil's pulpit. So because he wrote this book, they locked him up. They came up with false charges and locked him up. So do you see how privileged, let me say I'm in Asia, you see how lucky we are to have this book, y'all? To be able to read it? This man got locked up, sent to prison for writing this book. Okay? So in 1827, the mayor of London presumed to be instigated by others. So what did the preachers do? The preachers, the religious community, the bishop, they went to the mayor. Y'all see, church and state are not separate. Church and state are like this. All right? Even though you're taught the church and state are separate, never has been, and it never will be. Okay? The religious leaders went to the mayor. Now, why do y'all think that? Because the mayor is probably also a Freemason. So the Brotherhood of Freemason is first and foremost above anything else. Okay? So they go to the mayor, and then they go to the courts. Religion and government are one. Okay, that's the reality of it. They are not separate. They're separate to the uneducated and the people who don't know. Okay? The people who believe the hype. So let's continue. All right? Let's see what they did to this man. This was done in the meanest possible manner. Now, I have experience with these religious people. They can be outright nasty, ignorant, trifling. Ray writes, my oh my. They can be ignorant and trifling. I mean, the worst and the lowest of the worst. I feel sorry for people who are in the JW religion. They have to go through these things called elder meetings. If they get accused of something, or if they do something that's not allowable in the doctrine. And these so-called elders will totally dog you out, punk you out. They'll try to do it in front of your consort or your heirs. Okay? Ask you all kinds of inappropriate questions. Have nothing to do with them. But of course, they give a reason. Okay? They'll give a reason why, but there's never, who a man or a woman sleeps with is never anybody else's business. What happens between a man and his woman is nobody else's, especially not another man's business. Who initiated sex? Who took this off first? What did you do? That's nobody's business, right? But they're getting off on it. But anyway, but they give it a pure. It's supposed to be for pure reasons, right? No. It's duplicity. So let's continue. Let's continue. Can you imagine some man asking your wife about who she slept with, your consort about who she slept with, or what y'all did? Who initiated it? How did it feel? Can you imagine that? But they do it because they're controlling the minds of the people and they allow it. They think it's okay, right? Why? Because they trust. Let's continue. So the religious leaders went to the political system or to the government because he wrote the devil's pulpit. Okay, not only did they do it, but they did it in a very mean way. The arrest being made so late on Saturday night as to prevent bail being attained. So they plotted to have this man locked up so he couldn't get bail. Why? Because it was Saturday night. Well, on Sunday, they knew he would do what? They knew he would give a lecture. So they locked him up late at night so he could not give the lecture on Sunday. Y'all see that? Okay, let's continue. Hoping that the crowds would hear that he got locked up and be afraid to go to his lecture the next week. Or they're thinking, I don't want to get locked up. I don't want to get caught up in that, so they're not going to show up. In the same way, a lot of y'all religious teachers and leaders will tell y'all, don't go talk to Dr. Yasaka. Don't go to his classes. Don't buy his books. Don't watch his videos on YouTube. There's one person who's very popular, two actually, very popular on YouTube. One is a popular author who slandered me. But it is what it is. Where I come from, that's called NIGGA space SHIT. Huh? That's what that's called. So y'all wake up. Beware when somebody's telling you not to learn. What's wrong with learning? Huh? Beware. So that's what they did. Let's continue because this gets worse. Okay? And thereby the man of power gained the petty advantage of disappointing the public by preventing Mr. Taylor's lecture on Sunday. All right? So they won that battle. A persecution was now organized. So this is the religious people. Probably the mayor involved too. They're organizing, y'all. Organizing. Persecution tactics. Okay? Right? A Bristol Quaker and banker took this opportunity to press a debt and throw Robert Taylor into prison. Y'all got that? So I guess Robert Taylor borrowed some money. And then this guy, Quaker, said, hey, wait a minute, you never paid me? Y'all know the Quakers are religious, right? Hey, wait a minute, you never paid me or you're late? Trumped up charge to have him locked up. On that. Okay? So now he's got two things. Right? Arrested for blasphemy and not paying a debt. See how ruthless they are, y'all? Ruthless. Where's the forgiveness and the love that Christ showed? All right? During the same year, a second indictment was preferred. So they indicted him again within 1 year, including several of Mr. Taylor's friends. But they were never brought to trial. Okay, now, do you think that was free? You think that was free? Huh? You think Taylor didn't have to pay any money? Of course, they did it to force him to pay money because they're attacking him now financially. Y'all got it? So to defend himself against those indictments, he'd have to hire what? A lawyer or two. So they're trying to make him go broke. And if he goes broke, can he pay that guy, Mr. Wright, the Bristol Quaker? He cannot pay him. Y'all see it? He ain't got no money to pay that debt. He ran out of money. This is what they're trying to force to happen. On October 24th, in 1827, Mr. Taylor was convicted on one of these indictments by an English church. Y'all got that? The church convicted him. And king jury. He was convicted by an English church and king jury. So here again we see church and state connected, working together. And sent to Oakham Gaol, Gaol, for 1 year. So that's a prison. For 1 year, they locked him up for 1 year with securities for good behavior for 5 years. I'm not sure what that means. With securities for good behavior for 5. I'm not sure I don't know if that means parole. I have no idea what that means. In this Gaol, Mr. Taylor wrote his diegesis and his syntagma. I have diegesis. I don't know if I have the syntagma. You know, I may use it. I may use that. I have it. This letter was a reply to the Reverend John Pye Smith. It furnishes the proofs. Y'all hear that? The diegesis and Taylor's syntagma furnishes the proofs of arguments used in debates at the Christian Evidence Society. I got to dig that up and I'm going to find it. I will use it in conjunction with this class, y'all, okay? So if y'all have the diegesis or the syntagma, y'all get that? We're going to use it, all right? Why? Because it has the proofs. In other words, it has further information in written form showing where he got the information he used in his debates. Okay? So this is excellent. All right? So let's continue. Mr. Taylor also published a weekly letter in the Lion. So this is what he did when he was locked up. When he was locked up, he wrote the diegesis, he wrote the syntagma, and he published a letter, a weekly letter in the Lion. So in other words, he was able to use that time very, very profitably for himself. Mr. Taylor's release, on Mr. Taylor's release, he formed an intimate acquaintance with Mr. Carlyle. So they became good friends after he got out of the joint. They became good friends. He resumed his lectures. Listen, y'all. He was locked up, and I guess they gave him a 5-year tail. And when he got out, no, wait. When he was in there, he wrote the diegesis and syntagma. He wrote a weekly letter in the Lion. This is part of what? The Christian Evidence Society. Now, why do y'all think he did this? You think he was trying to make money? You think he was trying to make friends and gain influence? Or do you think he was honestly committed to putting the truth out so that people could get their lives back, they can get their land back? Why do y'all think he did that? He could have sat in the joint and relaxed. And then when he came out, he hooked up with this guy Carlyle, And he started doing the same lectures that they locked him up for doing in the first place. Remember, the Devil's Pulpit is a compilation of those lectures. So he started doing the same thing that they locked him up for. Does y'all think he's sincere or insincere? You think he's credible or not credible? You decide. You decide. Okay? I lost my spot. Okay, so he resumed his lectures, and with Mr. Carlyle, made a tour, visiting the universities, large towns, and cities of England, and everywhere challenging the clergy to meet them in an argument. Not only did he resume his lectures, but he expanded it. But he didn't do it by himself. He had someone helping him, this Mr. Carlyle. Okay? So now he went from one person himself. Now he's got Mr. Carlyle, now just giving lectures at one location. He starts to travel everywhere, giving lectures. So do you think he did that because he's not sincere? Do you think he was trying to make himself a comfortable lifestyle and live it up? Or do you think he put his life on the line and he risked going back to prison just so we could learn this information? Let me say it again. He put his life on the line and he risked being locked up again. Now y'all know if they locked him up the first time, you think he would get out the second time in just a year? Or you think they're going to try to give him more time? Okay, so do you think this man is sincere to do all of this stuff? Or you think he's scamming? Okay. He was a surgeon. He was educated he's educated in religious theology. He wrote books on the topics, and he put his life on the line, exposing the religious leaders. So do y'all think he doesn't know what he's talking about? You think he doesn't have the background? You think he only after money? Huh? What y'all think? I can understand totally where this man is coming from. I can relate to him. Okay? Now let's continue. So he challenged the religious leaders. Okay? He challenged them. Show where it's not right. Let's continue. A few debates took place. So a couple of these religious leaders took him up and they debated. But everywhere, an excitement was created and the tourists were triumphant. In other words, what he's saying is this. The tourists are the people in the community, those people who came to see the debates. Okay, they were excited about learning this information. Okay, and y'all see, he didn't write it here, but this information, most of the religious people, they don't want to touch it. They don't want to touch this topic. Because there's really nothing that they can argue. They're going to walk away from it looking like a complete idiot and a deceiver, a Decepticon. On Mr. Taylor's return from his tour, the rotunda was open. That's the location where he gave a lot of his lectures. The rotunda was open with tremendous effect. Okay, so he finished his tour, then he started giving lectures at the rotunda. Okay, notice how he's saying, they're saying lectures and not sermons or preaching. Okay, a second prosecution followed. All right, y'all? So they said, okay, you're going to continue doing this. We're going to lock you up again. So a second prosecution followed. which terminated in Mr. Taylor's being sent to Horsemonger's Gold. So he got locked up again. They put him in a joint again, where his treatment was as cruel. Okay, so this is Horsemonger's Goal or Horsemonger's Prison. So they treated him worse than an animal, right? His treatment was cruel, where his treatment was as cruel as an English government and faction durst make it. Mr. Taylor, in a fit of desperation from ill usage, having threatened the life of the gaoler, so in other words, Robert Taylor, the author here, he got tired, okay? And he told the peers, one of the prison guards, that, hey man, if you don't back up off me, I'm going to execute or implement natural law on you. Y'all know what I'm saying. Having threatened the life of the gaoler, this fact was made use of even by the government for prolonging his imprisonment. And that's what they wanted. They wanted to get him in prison and then have something happen so that they can charge him again to put him in prison longer. This is what they do right now today. That's what they do right now today. You know, even people's family members, like my family, my father tried to do that to me twice in my life, try to get me locked up. Why? Envy, jealousy, hatred of your own heir. Okay? So, y'all don't be naive in your thinking. Don't be naive and don't be afraid to face reality. There are some people, it could be your biological father, it could be your stepfather, it could be your biological mother, it could be your stepmother, it could be your preacher, your pastor, who every time they see you, though you've done nothing wrong to them, they feel hurt. Y'all understand? Not just jealous, but envy makes them feel hurt just at the sight of you. Y'all hear me? They feel hurt at the sight of you. And they want to do something to destroy you. Even your pastors, even your general, your captain, or your officer. You think that you're doing everything that you can do for this deity that you're worshiping. But all the whole time they're plotting, waiting for a moment to pounce on you. Or to start spreading lies on you. Get other people to do their dirty work for them because they're too much of a coward to do it themselves. All right? So these religious people are sick in the head. Not all, but very many, especially those who are in positions of power and authority. Okay? So now let's continue. During his persecution, the society was partly broken up. Okay, that's understandable, right? That people got scared, most likely, and they ran. Soon after his release, a want of anonymity between him and Mr. Carlyle injured his exertions, and his public career was terminated by a marriage with a lady of some property. Okay, so he fell out for whatever reason with Carlyle. Maybe Carlyle was scared. Everybody else in the society was scared because they didn't lock him up a second time. They were treating him like an animal, so they all got scared. They didn't want anything else to do with Robert Taylor. And so he got married. And it just so happened the woman had property. Property is real wealth. Okay? So he got married to a woman who had a lot of property, with whom he retired to France. So he had to leave England. Okay? He had to leave England. Because otherwise they probably would have, not probably, definitely, they would have continued going after him. So he left England. He had to leave the country, y'all, to escape the church and the government in England. He moved to France with his woman, all right? And there in France, and there he lived in tranquility. He lived in peace the remainder of his days, so the rest of his life in France, he lived in peace. And where he died a few years after, at a good old age, leaving no manuscript, that's in France, as far as is known. So the stress caused this man to die. That's what I'm seeing in that. After he got out of prison, everybody abandoned him. They didn't want anything to do with him. He married a woman who had money, moved to France. He was already old by this time. And he died. Why? Because he had been so stressed out, giving the people the truth, teaching the people that you must read these documents using etymology and grammar rules, using philology. And for that, he was severely punished, not just by the religious leaders, but by many people in the congregations. Why? Why? Because they're ignorant. They think that what the preacher says or what the priest said is the absolute truth and the truth, and the preacher don't like you, therefore they don't like you. All right? My friend don't like you, so I don't like you. That type. Y'all know how it goes in these churches, in these religious organizations. So that's all I got for y'all. That's the end of his biography. So y'all make the decision whether or not Robert Taylor is sincere, whether or not he has credibility, and whether or not you can rely on what he's written in these chapters. So you decide whether or not you can give him your full faith and credit. All right, you decide. Go and download the diegesis and syntagma. So I don't know if I have that. I think I got the syntagma. I got to check again, but definitely I got the diegesis. So we will use them in this course. All right, y'all. So thank you everyone who has bought my books. If you're sitting on the fence to buy my books, my Ancient Ibaryath books, my dictionary, the Deuteronomy 28 books, there's no religion in it. You'll see the same thing that you're going to see in the Devil's Pulpit in terms of using etymology. You'll see that kind of information in there. There's no religion. So if y'all come to my Saturday class, you'll see how this etymology stuff and grammar rules and word structure works in application. Okay, and you can come a few classes for free. All right. I do it in much more detail and much more depth than it's done in this book. Okay. So anyway, thanks everyone who has supported me, especially those who have supported my project to write the Book of the Law in Ancient Ibaryath and Modern English, removing all of the deceit and lies and religious doctrine. That is coming from Jeremiah 8, chapter 8, where it says, and I'm paraphrasing, that the book of the law has lies in it, and that the book of the law has been turned into religion. Okay? Anyway, I'm going to go. I'll come back maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and I'll do another video, okay? So Islam to all the Moors and Shalom.